Mate, I can't really talk. I'm literally about to start recording a YouTube video. Yeah, it's basically just going to be how you can get to 70 quick by dungeon grinding, but also, like, you know, more detail, as in how much reputation you're going to get, you know, how many runs you need to do to get to Honoured and stuff like that. What do you mean, get a job? Well, I don't want a job. I don't want to be a plumber like you, do I? Yeah, very funny. I don't need a job. I'm fine. I'm sitting, make it. There's a banging community. All who want, you know, they're hyped for TBC. They want information. They want to know what to do. I'm not just going to, like, start swinging around the city saving lives, am I? Look, mate, I'm going to have to go. People get really bored of long intros. But yeah, I'll tell them, don't worry. I'll tell them to like, subscribe, check out the giveaway, because when we hit 10k, we're going to be giving away a gaming mouse live on stream. Hopefully that could be tonight if everyone clicks like and subscribe today. But anyway, mate, I'm going to need to go, because I need to get into this and start telling them how they're actually going to get to 70 and what they need to do. All right, cheers, mate. Catch you soon. Bye. Sorry about that, guys. Wrong number. And we're back. And like you... Oh, sorry about that. So, yeah, we're looking at dungeons and what I would consider the quickest way, because it's going to be an absolute nightmare, basically. An absolute nightmare in Outland. We're squeezing all those people. Even with layers, I'm still seeing it being an absolute pain. So if you've got a good group of people who you know are going to be online, as long as you, no life in it, you've made a proper good comp, which we will briefly talk about before we actually get into the specifics, then you can just smash through these dungeons. Smash through them. You're going to be getting a few bars per dungeon. Obviously, the 30 dungeon cap we'll touch on as well, because that may cause problems. I don't see it being a problem myself, but we will talk about how it could become a problem anyway. So the first thing you need to think about is composition. Yeah, you're going to need 5 people who are really reliable. You know they're going to turn up. You know they're not going to log off or randomly DC or anything like that. And then get through the dark portal. You're only going to need 2 of yours to get through. You know, get 2 of yours through, then use a summoning stone. Because I think we're going to have, you know, the chances of all 5 of you getting through without DCs, without whatever, is extremely slim. But obviously, we'll talk about where we're going to head first in a minute. But think about the composition. You know, you don't want to take, like, 1 melee, a couple of ranged or whatever. You want to stack one kind. You know, take an Ellie Shaman with a couple of Frost Mages or whatever. You know, try and think about what is going to benefit the most, the best class synergy that you can physically make. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what that is, because I don't know who you aim to play with. You know, you might have a melee stacked sort of melee cleave group. You might have a spell cleave group. You know, in which case, if you've got a melee cleave group, you'll probably take a Resto Shaman for Wind Fury, whereas we'd probably take a Resto Druid as a bit of a spell cleave group, because, you know, using Hurricane on AoE packs, for example, you know, having the Ellie Shaman with extra spell damage, extra crit, extra hit, blah, 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 blah. You know what all the classes do anyway. If you haven't, check out my class guides. But I've been sort of racking my brains how to do this, and before we get much further, I just want a massive shout out to Jimmy on Discord, who actually compiled all of this information for me. I've done no research. I've not looked at anything whatsoever. All I've done is got a calculator out and confirmed that his values that he's put down are right, even though he told me I didn't need to, because he's done his homework. So I'd say big shout out to Jimmy, who's put all this together for me. I'm just relaying the information. That's it. So look, let's talk about where you're going to start. So you're going to go through the Dark Portal. You're going to head straight to Blood Furnace. Now, you could do one Ramparts run, but ideally, if you did manage to get through the Dark Portal before other people, and you can grab those first few quests so you can get the quest for Ramparts, obviously the Blood Furnace quests leads on from them. So that would be worthwhile. I mean, me personally, even if I thought, right, we're going to waste half an hour in dungeons. Now, this is if the dungeon cap's in place. If the dungeon cap's not in place, I probably won't even bother with the quests. It will just be, let's smash dungeons, because we know we can just go from one to the other and never have to worry. If the dungeon cap is there, you're going to have to find ways to break it up a little bit. And I'm going to give you my suggestions on how I would do that. So firstly, I would break it up by, if you manage to get in and it's not actually overcrowded, and alright, let's say it took you half an hour, 45 minutes to get those initial quests done, but to get the quest for Ramparts, all 5 of you, you're doing it as a group anyway, so you've got more chance of getting mob tags. You know, it doesn't take that long anyway. So in which case, I would then go Ramparts. I'd get the quest, go Ramparts, then go Blood Furnace, and then spam Blood Furnace. Now, a full clear of Blood Furnace gives 750 rep with Honor Hold or Thralmar. That's killing absolutely everything inside, obviously. So you're going to need to do 12 runs to get to Honoured. The reason we want to do it like this is because you need to get revered to get the keys for the heroic dungeons, obviously. If you get honoured by the normal dungeons on your way to 70, now when you do quests, which we're going to throw some quests in as well, or when you just go around at 70 and do quests, it's going to be really quick to get to revered with all of these. Or even if when you start doing the level 70 dungeons, so for example Shadow Labs, Steam Vaults, whatever, you know, you're now going to be getting rep straight towards revered rather than filling that bar out at honoured to begin with, which, you know, is ideal. Now this will change slightly. If we have the 30 instance cap, I'm going to give you what I would do if the 30 instance cap is there and what I would do if it's not there. And it's very important and very drastically different if it's there or if it's not there. So firstly, we're saying if it's there, we're going to get the pre-quests if we can, and then go Ramparts and then go Blood Furnace. If it's so ridiculously busy that you know it's going to take you 2-3 hours to get those first quests done, go straight into Blood Furnace and do 12 runs. Now the aim is to obviously do one just over every 12 minutes. This means you'll never hit the instance cap of 5 per hour. Blood Furnace, you would have to be going some, seriously going some, to get a run done in 12 minutes. I think with the gear levels we've got from vanilla, you know, classic, it probably will be possible with an optimal group because it's not that big. But 12 minutes is still quite a push. And the reason it's a push, because there's a particular boss in there where you open a lever and it starts opening cages and releasing mobs. I mean, that's the one that I see as sort of a bit of a choke point because it seems to just take a while. But I still think 12 minutes could be achievable with a really good group. I mean, we'll be pushing for as close to, you know, just over 12 minutes as we physically can. So that's what we're doing if the instance cap is there. Because we're going to try and get the quest if we can, do 1 Ramparts, and then we'll probably only need 11, in all honesty. We'll probably only need 11 runs of Blood Furnace to then get to Honoured. And we're all now going to be 61. So now it's time to move to Slave Pens and Underbog in Zangarmarsh. So Underbog actually gives slightly more rep, so just over a K, and Slave Pens gives just under a K. So there's not much in it. It's like between 900 and sort of 1050. So you're going to need around 10 runs. Now, by the time you do these runs in here, you're going to want to be 63 before you move on. So if the dungeon cap's not there, we've not got to worry. You can just keep running it until you're 63. You're going to get a few bars, you know, 3 to 4 bars every run. So you should comfortably make it, obviously. But if for some reason you don't and there's no cap, it don't matter. You just carry on. You just do some more Underbog before you move on to the next dungeons. So let's say the cap is there. You've been and done your 1 run of Ramparts, your 11 runs in Blood Furnace, and now you've done 10 runs between Slave Pens and Underbog. You know, you're now 22 into your instance cap for the day, and if you were doing it around every 12 minutes, you've not got that much time left, because you've got to remember there will be some travelling time that you take out of there. But really, if you was doing these dungeons super quick and then you added an hour for travelling around, it still really is only 6 hours worth of dungeons, plus the hours, so like 7 hours, which is not that long in the grand scheme of things. You know, about how long we're probably going to sit there just like trying to smash it to 70. So at this point, with like 22 dungeons in, you might consider doing something a little bit different. This could be a point, and I'm saying could be. Odds are you're a good 4 or 5 hours in, probably 4 hours, let's say. Now you could potentially go back to Hellfire, because it should have started dying down a bit, hopefully. You know, people are now moving to Zangarmarsh, or maybe already gone straight to Zangarmarsh. You might now be able to have an hour or so doing the Hellfire Peninsula quest for your Honor Hold and Fralmar reputation, and obviously you're getting the experience at the same time, and you're just adding some time onto that 24-hour period. So this could be a good opportunity now to go back and maybe get to 64 in Hellfire, or 63 3/4, whatever, just to make the next dungeons a little bit quicker to ding. This would probably be my recommendation, personally, because you've got to remember, when you go back and do the quests around Honor Hold and Fralmar at 70, you're not going to get any XP. At least at this point in time, you're getting some benefit from it. Now, there is the option of just going somewhere and grinding, but me personally, I think 4 hours into the expansion, Hellfire should have started getting a little bit quieter, hopefully. I'm not saying it's going to be empty. You're still going to be challenging people for mob tags and stuff, but there is 5 of you together, which can make some quests longer, can make some quests quicker, obviously, but there's some good chains, like where you can go and kill the big demon to get the trinket, so you can all get a decent trinket nice and early if you're missing one. So, you know, there's things worthwhile doing if you can go back and do it. Now, that's if there's an instance cap. If there's not the 30 instance cap daily limit, you're not going to leave dungeons. You're literally, there's no point leaving dungeons at this point. So you're going to go do your ramparts and blood furnace, whichever way. Again, if there's no cap, I'd just go straight to blood furnace. You're going to do your slave pens and underbog, get to 63 and a half, and then you're going to move to Mana Tombs. You're going to stay in Orkenden to do Mana Tombs and Sefek Halls. Now, Mana Tombs they both give around 1,000. I'm not even going to go into the exact specific numbers. I have got them. Sefek Halls, for a full clear, actually gives closer to a sort of 11 and a half, so 1,100 I'm talking about. And then Mana Tombs is just under 1,000. So on the basis, you know, to get your reputation to Honoured, you need 3k and then 6k. It's going to be about 9 runs. So by the time, if you've done the 12, 10, and now you're at Mana Tombs with an instance cap, you're only going to be able to do 8. So you are going to be short on reputation before you get locked out, which could be a problem. But after those 8, if you've managed to get yourself to 65, because maybe you have done, like I said, and you've gone back to Hellfire Peninsula, got some Honour Oldham or Fralmar rep, you know, respectively, depending on your faction, and then you've gone to Mana Tombs, got to 65 in there. Now you can move to Nagrand and do the Ring of Blood, which is a nice amount of XP. At this point, this is where you're a little bit stuck with an instance cap, because you've got your Honoured, and you're working towards Revered with Honour Holder Fralmar. You're Honoured with Cenarian Expedition, and hopefully saved lots of rep items from Underbog, which we'll talk about that in another video. It's not really the place. And you're 1 run away from Honoured with Lower City, but now you've hit the cap. Like I say, if you did what I suggest and go back and do some quests to just extend that timer, you could be anywhere in the region of about 10 hours in. So you've got a long time before you can go and do dungeons again. You could be 12 hours in, you know, depending on server problems. Now, I think going in with an instance cap is going to be the worst thing they can do, and I'd like to continue this by talking as if they didn't. Because if they did, now what you're going to do, FYI, you either go around and quest and carry on pushing to 70, or you wait till you log out till the next day and you carry on with instances where you're going to go and do 1 run in Mana Tombs or Sefek Halls. You're going to probably go, obviously, do Sefek Halls. That finishes you off Honoured there. And you're probably on the verge of 66. You're probably just going to keep running Sefek Halls, to be fair. There's nowhere I would recommend going outside of Sefek Halls. There's a lot of mobs. You can clear all the rooms. You can AoE. Yeah, it's a decent dungeon. I wouldn't bother with Orkney Crypts or anything like that. Just stick with Sefek Halls. And with the Ring of Blood and Sefek Halls farming, you basically want to get to 68. And then once you're 68, you want to go over to Karazhan, start your attunement quest. A little bit of running around, few killing mobs down there, but that's all XP, you know, the initial quests for the attunement. And then the first place you're going to be sent into is Shadow Labs. Now, you've got an option. You can either actually start the quest line properly, but not be able to finish it, because obviously you can't fly to go and do the last part the last part before BM, which is in Alcatraz. So I would now start working towards Revered with one of the reps. So you're going to get a quest, it's going to send you to Shadow Labs. You get an XP, and you're working towards Revered with Lower City, which you're going to need for trials later on, which again, that's definitely part of another video. Then you could go to Steam Vaults, and you could just farm Steam Vaults instead, you know, to Revered. You know, pick one or the other. Steam Vaults is probably a bit easier, to be honest with you, and getting the Cenarian Expedition Revered is a lot more important, because you need that to be able to get into Heroic to actually get the attunement quest from inside Slave Pen's Heroic. So I would probably do Shadow Labs. You'll all have the key already because you've done Sefek Halls, so you can get in Shadow Labs no problem. Do that once just to get the frag, hand in. Now you'll get sent to Steam Vaults, and then I would stay in Steam Vaults till 70, preferably Revered with Cenarian Expedition. There's lots of ways you can do this bit. The 68 to 70 is basically in any 70 dungeon, so you could do Shattered Halls for Fralmar rep, but I think Cenarian Expedition is the most important one to do first. And Shadow Labs is probably a bit more of a pain, but it will be a lot easier at 70 to farm it for reputation when you've got Warlocks spamming Seed of Corruption all over the place with a proc Paladin. Just saying. The other option is, of course, you do need to do an Old Hillsbrad Foothills, which is in Caverns of Time. So you've got Old Hillsbrad Foothills and Black Morass. Now, to get in Black Morass, you need to have done like a little story quest, which includes doing Old Hillsbrad Foothills. Now, Black Morass is the last part of the quest to get your Karazhan attunement. So you could actually, at like 66, 67, you could go and farm a few Old Hillsbrad Foothills runs. We don't really recommend it because it's quite a horrific place to go. But you could do it in there, so you've at least got Black Morass unlocked for when you need it. And you could even do Old Hillsbrad Foothills at like 68 and then go into Black Morass and just farm in there until 70. which there's loads of normal mobs that you can round up. So if you've got a skinner, they can skin them all. You know, it's going to be the slowest way, in my opinion. I would say it's going to be the slowest way. But there's a lot of options at this point. Me personally, I would recommend the Steam Vaults route, but basically pick any 70 dungeon that you guys, you know, feel the need to get. But remember, you need Revered with Cenarian Expedition as quick as physically possible. So Steam Vaults is probably the best way to go. Now, like I said, I'm trying to ignore the fact that there could be an instance cap at this moment in time, because you are going to need excessive amounts of runs. I think it's still going to be quicker than running around questing, as long as you've got that tight-knit group who are just smashing run after run after run. But this is mainly about getting to 70. You know, this is what the video is about, because there are some other things you might want to take into consideration, like Scottejaye rep. So Scottejaye rep is from the 3 instances in Neverstorm, so Botanica, Mechanar and Arcatraz. Now, obviously, you can't access any of them without flying, but what you can do is look up the quest line for the key to get the key to Arcatraz. So if you just Google breaking into Arcatraz and then look through the quest line, doing that will net a lot of Scottejaye reputation. And it actually gets you a lot of XP, that quest line. But ideally, what you also want to be doing is, because you've probably farmed quite a bit of Shadow Labs, I don't know whether you're going to be Eldor or Scryers, but you actually get Scottejaye rep. It doesn't show it in your log, but it will show it in your reputation pane. You get Scottejaye rep with Eldor or Scryer hand-ins. So if you're handing them all in, that's like, in my opinion, the best way to at least get some rep with Scottejaye early and quick. I suppose the ultimate question is, do I think this is going to be quicker than questing? My honest answer is no. I think questing will still be quicker than this if it wasn't massively crowded. I mean, we know it's gonna be, and that's why I'm preparing to do this now, because I don't see a very satisfying questing experience in Outland. So if we can just get our group of 5, keep ourselves to ourselves, just go from dungeon to dungeon to dungeon. I don't care if we're first or last to 70, but I just know we'll have a good time. You know, smashing dungeons is fun. We're going to get loads of cloth. We're going to get loads of greens. You know, so we're at tailoring wise and enchanting wise, we're going to have a good time with. We can get some off-spec bits. You know, we're going to get gear along the way as well, which is going to be nice, obviously. So a real brief recap. Sorry, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but 60 to 61, we're going to Blood Furnace. Then we're moving to Slave Pens and Underbog. Moving from there at 63 and going to Mana Tombs. Then we're going into Sefek Halls. We're going to do Ring of Blood around there as well when we're doing the Mana Tombs and Sefek Halls runs. Then we're going to go back to Sefek Halls. Then we're going to go and get our Karazhan attunement started. Do the quest line, do Shadow Labs once, into Steam Vaults, stay in Steam Vaults until 70. That would be the best way if there's no instance caps, in my opinion. If there are instance caps, please remember, if you're planning on doing, like me, a nice 24-hour session when it comes out, it's going to be extremely depressing 7 hours in being locked out of dungeons. It will be. Some of these dungeons will be impossible to do in 12 minutes, mark my words. But some of them will be possible to do in 12 minutes. So what we don't want to do is, even in the first 12 hours, as I say, if you're going sweaty, hardcore, nerd style like me for a 24-hour sesh, you don't want to be locked out of dungeons after 12 hours. It's as simple as that. What you want to do is break it up a little bit, once you hit honoured in that specific dungeon, go back to the zone before, which should started quieting down a little bit, get some rep, then go back to doing dungeons in the zones ahead. Then hopefully that gives the rest of the people who are in that zone now to move on, if that makes sense. And then keep doing that. Keep jumping backwards and forwards, going behind the crowd. Rather than trying to get ahead of them, stick behind them so you have a better questing experience, but you're also working towards your rep. What I would also suggest doing is not wasting your time on long quest chains that don't give rep. So if you're going back to On a Hold, make sure you look up the quests in On a Hold or Threlmar, either or, and look at what ones give the most rep for the chain. Because now there is also a quest which I don't hear anyone talk about very often, but there's a quest in Hellfire you've probably done it if you've played TBC before. If you played back in the day, you know, or even on private servers, you'll remember it, where you guide a little spirit wolf up to the Magar guys. You need to do this. Now, I've seen on multiple servers where if you haven't done that quest, you can't do Ring of Blood. So bear that in mind. Again, I've not seen anyone even mention that, but that one specific quest, you need to look it up and you need to do that quest line just to be safe. Because you don't want to get to 65, go to Ring of Blood and you can't get the quest. And it turns out it's because you haven't done the Spirit Wolf quest in Hellfire. I will put the name of the quest on screen. I just can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'll do that in post-edit. So look, that's about it, guys. I will just flash up on the screen while I'm talking all the reputation values that you're going to get in these dungeons if you clear all the mobs, and this is not taking human racial into account either. There's lots of ways to do this. This is just what I would recommend, and as I say, this is what I would recommend taking into account. There may be an instance cap, but I don't think we're going to have an instance cap. I think they'll remove that because they know a lot of people will dungeon grind, and they know that will alleviate a lot of pressure in the zones while leveling. So I personally think we might get lucky and we can literally just walk through the portal, go in one dungeon, and just go dungeon, dungeon, dungeon. Just keep spamming them till we're 70. If that's the case, then I would recommend following the route I've done. Even if you can spam dungeons at 68, you're still going to want to go and start the Karazhan attunement to end in Steam Vaults, to then farm to Revered with Cenarian Expedition. If you found this useful, like, subscribe, obviously drop me a comment, guys. If you've got any questions, as I say, I've got loads and loads of ways that you could do this, loads of different alternative routes if you don't like the ones I've gave you. But until the next video, peace out.